Hey guys, Omni here. So we're going to be diving into episode 2 of Chernobyl today. I think after watching the first episode, I'm hoping that I'm kind of better prepared going into the remainder of the season as to how this may affect me. I do apologize if I did to get a little abrasive in the last episode. It was just so... I don't know. I was going into it, maybe I underestimated just how much it was going to get a reaction out of me. But that said, everything about it, as far as the production, as far as the performances, the music, the art of telling this story was done so well. It's just so hard to watch this tragedy unfold like that. I know it's only going to get worse, but maybe I can recalibrate my headspace a little bit before we go into this, so we'll just have to wait and find out. So guys, remember, if you want to see the full-length reaction, you can check it out over on Patreon, or if you become a member of the channel, gives you access as well. It's a watch-along format, so we need your own footage to sync up with the time codes and reaction to the entire thing. You also get the same thing for all the other shows and movies that we cover here on the channel. You get to suggest and vote on what movies or react to each month. We got monthly Q&As, behind-the-scenes footage to try to make it worth your while, since you are going to way support the channel. And remember, guys, if you're tuning in for the first time, I really hope if you enjoy the reaction, you'll stick around, hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you enjoy the reaction. It really helps us out, and drop a comment, as always. But with that all said and out of the way, guys, let's hop into episode 2. Please remain calm. Here we go. Let's see if I can remain calm. That's going to be an actual test here. 7 hours after the explosion.
Why did you come in?
Oh, we're too hot. It's boiling in here.
Wait, is that Laris? From House of the Dragon? I think so. I could be wrong.
It would have gone off before. It's coming from outside.
The Americans?
The outside radiation's already at 8. Oh my god.
It's not military, it's uranium decay, U-235.
Reactor fuel. Ignalina, maybe 240 kilometers away.
It's not them. Who's the next closest?
It's Chernobyl, but that's not possible. They're 400 kilometers away.
Oh, that's too far for 8 millirontgen. They'd have to be split open.
Oh.
Iodine.
Could it be a waste dump?
No one's answering the phone.
Yeah, because they're on lockdown. Information lockdown right now. Iodine pills. Used in it's a type of iodine that is not radioactive and can be used to help block one type of radioactive material. Okay, I didn't know that. So that's why that doctor was like, do we have iodine pills? Like when she saw the explosion, just to prep.
It's milk, much better than water.
No, stop, stop!
What are you doing?
These are radiation burns. Their clothes are contaminated. Help me!
Wow. He doesn't even know how to treat this?
He was a firefighter for Chernobyl. Can you stop pushing, please?
Oh. I feel so bad for her, man.
All right, Professor, they're ready. Professor Legasov?
Just, he's showing so much without having said a damn word. I'm assuming what he was reading is way worse than he was even interpreting or thinking before, and he was already in the mind of evacuation. And there's our man Stellan already.
Inside the core, if there's graphite on the ground outside, it means it wasn't a control system tank that exploded, it was the reactor core, it's open.
Damn, I'm so, wow.
General Secretary, I can assure you that Professor Legasov is mistaken. And as for the radiation...
Yes, 3.6 Rontgen, which, by the way, is not the equivalent of 1 chest X-ray, but rather 400. This fireman was holding the equivalent of 4 million chest X-rays in his hand.
Professor Legasov, there's no place for alarmist hysteria.
It's not alarmist if it's a fact.
Well, I don't hear any facts.
F*** off.
billion, trillion bullets in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. Most of these bullets will not stop firing for 100 years. Some of them
right.
not for 50,000 years.
Good.
Yes, and
God.
Forgive me, Corporate General Secretary, but I don't...
do you know how a nuclear reactor works?
That's what you brought him here for, to answer questions about this reactor. This is questions about this reactor. Dude, Stellan's so good, man. And so is Jared Harris. I've only really seen Jared Harris in like B horror movies. One with the worst sound design I've ever heard, and I forget the name of the movie. Saw it like within the last 8 years. I cannot remember what it was. It's about like paranormal investigation or something like that. Him and like some college students investigating paranormal activity or something. I don't remember what it was. My God, that was a hard movie to watch. Not because of him, but just because of the sound design, the editing.
Tell me how a nuclear reactor works, or I'll have one of these soldiers throw you out of the helicopter.
In RBMK reactors, we surround the fuel rods with graphite to moderate, slow down the neutron flux.
To make sure they hit more frequently.
I know how a nuclear reactor works. No, I don't need you.
Oh, you son of a...
Take her away from here, Tate, please.
Get away from them.
Oh my God.
You want to get sick? Go.
Please, Tate, please, Tate, please, Tate, please.
How's the baby? The baby... I mean, the baby looked fine, but I don't think they were gonna put makeup on a baby, but...
Ignitenko, 6 paramilitary fire and rescue unit. I need to find him.
He's being transported by helicopter to Moscow.
Can I see him?
You want to see him? Go to Moscow. Look at that glow. That's radiation ionizing the air.
Why, if we can't see, we don't know. Get us directly over the building.
God.
If you fly directly over that core, I promise you by tomorrow morning you'll be begging for that bullet.
I'm glad somebody finally has some... Well, okay, it's not somebody finally has some sense. The one dude with the mustache with the decimeters. So that's like 1,000 people so far in this show. So, but you know the one I'm talking about. The one that did all the readings before that they forced up on that roof. This is like the second person to have any real sense.
When we have a disease to cure, where are they? In a lab, noses in their books, and so grandma dies. But when there isn't a problem, they're everywhere, spreading fear.
I know about Chernobyl.
That is the most ignorant description and presumption I've ever heard.
There has been an accident at Chernobyl, but I've been assured there is no problem.
I'm telling you that there is.
I prefer my opinion to yours.
Stable iodine will keep your thyroid from absorbing radioactive iodine. Take 1 a day for as long as they last.
Aww.
Get as far from Minsk as you can.
I'm glad we're finally seeing some people that give a shit.
I have a list of individuals who we believe are accountable.
Oh, eat. That's not what's important.
Tell me how an RBMK reactor core explodes.
I'm not prepared to explain it at this time.
As I presumed, there's no answer.
It's disgraceful.
I want them...
This.
Aw. God damn it. I said I would relax. Or try.
Why did I see graphite on the roof? Graphite is only found in the core, where it's used as a neutron flux moderator.
I mean, why did the deputy chairman see graphite on the roof?
Fuck you!
Have one of your men get as close to the fire as he can. Give him every bit of protection you have, but...
This whole thing took a turn. I did not expect him to back the professor. For Stellan to back Jared. I'm struggling to remember these names, man, because we are moving with a lot of these scenes. So if I default to actor names, I apologize. But oh, it was satisfying hearing those clowns stumble over their words. Because they've been more than happy to try to make anybody with any sense sound stupid.
It will not stop. Not in a week, not in a month. It will burn and spread its poison until the entire continent is dead.
It's terrifying how dangerous these things are, man. And we're using it for something as simple as power.
Dyatlov was in charge.
Oh, you.
Tell me how to put it out. We'll use heli.
All of you need to fall for that. It's insane to me just how much worse this could have been.
Are you here because of the fire? Anything we should be worried about?
Yes, but he can't tell you that.
No.
Dude, the guilt he's got to carry. Well, we saw the guilt he carried in the opening sequence of last episode. The fruits of that guilt. "30 hours. Could they lead shield the bottom of the helicopters so that they could fly directly over? I mean, that's still so much radiation. But it might... Well, no, the smoke would immediately envelop anybody. They would have to find some way to shield the entire vehicle, and I don't think that would work.
Too close. I repeat, they are too close. Copy. Did not copy. Signal breaking up.
The radiation's distorting the radio. They're dead. They're gonna crash. Oh my god.
I wanted to see how he's doing. It's so hot there right now.
Yes, it's extremely hot. But his nephews are flying down.
And they always bring cool weather.
Oh, which nephews?
Oh, they're speaking in code. Wow.
Maybe I should visit them.
No, they don't want visitors.
I'm sorry, I have to get back to work. It's very busy right now. Goodbye.
Wow.
Where are you going?
Chernobyl.
We're staying here.
Yes, we are. And we'll be dead in 5 years.
I'm sorry.
Dude, Stellan's so good too, like the realization of just how underestimated this whole process has been. Like he's been brought down to realization. Even. He came from a very strong stance initially.
A nuclear plant in Sweden has detected radiation and identified it as a byproduct of our fuel. The Americans took satellite photos.
Oh, it's out.
The whole world knows.
Yeah. You've got a gigantic beacon.
Wind has been blowing toward Germany. Not letting children play outside.
And they are saying these kids are perfectly fine just being here. And they're just on the outskirts of this thing. These places are hundreds of miles from here. And they're like...
The Soviets may have been fairly quick to acknowledge the accident because evidence in the form of mild nuclear radiation had already reached beyond the Soviet borders to Scandinavia.
Wow, that's not a good look. Then again, they spun that in a really interesting way. They're like, oh, they were quick to respond because other countries were starting to detect it. They should have. They should have. What's going on? Are they finally evacuating people? Yeah, look at you, little piece of shit. Aww. It's an eerie and haunting shot right there.
Turn around right now or I'll arrest you.
If you arrest me, you should take me to the highest possible authority.
I like her.
Are you right?
Of course.
Oh, he's in shock.
But I estimate at least a month before it melts through the lower concrete pad, which gives us time.
No, you don't have a month. You have approximately 2 days.
What the?
The uranium will melt to sand, creating a kind of lava, which will begin to melt down through the shield below.
You've made lava.
A significant thermal explosion.
How significant?
We estimate between 2 and 4 megatons.
Jeez.
Get to the sluice gate valve here and give us the access we need to pump out the tanks. Of course, we will need your permission.
Whoever they send would die.
They'll likely be dead in a week.
We're asking for your permission to kill 3 men.
Comrade Legasov.
In the name of
All
saving
victories inevitably come at a cost.
thousands, millions. "56 hours. All the remains are the animals." This could be, again, me misremembering something, but I think one of the first signs that it was starting to become safe again was the return of feral dogs and wild deer to the area. Noticing that they weren't avoiding it anymore. I could be wrong, but I feel like I heard that somewhere.
And of course, any volunteers will be rewarded. A yearly stipend of 400 rubles.
And they would never see that money based on what we just heard, too. They won't live that long.
Why should we do this? For what, 400 rubles?
Because nobody else can. And if you don't, millions will die. If you tell me that's not enough, I won't believe you.
Oh. That's where we hit credits. Yep. God damn. Please remain calm. That is an apt title for this episode. Oh my lord, man. I really did. That was such, just like the first one, it was a really good ride. Production, the writing, the performances, man. Jared Harris, I always knew that Stellan Skarsgård was a phenomenal actor, but like I've said before, I've not seen Jared Harris in too many things, like I said, that were not B horror movies, and he did so much with so little. Like those moments where it's just dead silence and it's just facial performance. His nonverbal like body tics, the way he reacts physically. throughout scene to scene. It was just so well done, man. And then I forget her name, but I know I've seen her in other things. She also was a standout in this episode, the scientist, the professor that came in to kind of be like, hey, I know what you're doing. I know what's happening. We have a problem that nobody's accounting for right now. And this can be, you might have solved the immediate issue, but it's going to cause a much larger one after the fact because of this little thing that got overlooked. And that, you know, I did like that the dynamic between Jared and Stellan also kind of evolved to where now they're kind of leaning on each other. At least Boris, you know, Stellan is leaning on him more now once he's... Because he went in there with the same hubris that everybody's been feeding him. Like, he doesn't know anything more than their own... than what they've been fed by these complete hats that have been fielding these reports to the people that are making these decisions, that are dooming these people. And these people that they evacuated, the amount of time they've been there, are going to have like outstanding effects of this. It's already too late to get past the vast majority of the problems that are going to be caused by this for them with how close they were. Because even at what they said, it was like 8 Runken at that woman's institute where they were studying with her and Laris, that it was already like 8 something there, and did they say like that Chernobyl was like 200 kilometers away from them or something like that? It was far, and it's 8 there, and Pripyat is just like right outside the outskirts. And then the amount of radiation that is already kind of sweeping over that all the way into East Germany by this point. Like, it's not like they're sheltering in place. It's that bad. And it could have been... And now I know that I don't recall it getting, like, catastrophic for the globe in the way that they talked about it. So something did eventually stop it, or at least lessen the impact that it could have, because the alternative outcome, I mean, you just wouldn't have anyone in half of these countries that they mentioned. A good half of Europe, the whole eastern half of Europe, would be uninhabitable right now if this at least wasn't staved off. I didn't realize just how detrimental this thing could have been. And that's the kind of power we're playing with at times, you know? Like, I like those shots where it showed... I don't like the shots, but it serves its purpose, as the shot that we got of the deer dead in the woods is like mankind's ever-growing reach into things we probably shouldn't be meddling with. You know, it's great. Technology gives us so many things, and these advancements give us so many things. These like amenities, these conveniences, and stuff like that. But like at a certain point, what's the cost? Like, what are we willing to lose? How much would we be willing to lose just to make things easier? You know, it's kind of terrifying. Just atomic power in general, the studies about it, like I mentioned this in the last episode as well, that I've done some reading on it, you know, with the Energy Commission, with Area 51, with the atom bomb testings and stuff like that, and the long-term effects of some of those tests. Just the power we play with, that we accessed with that, is terrifying. And I think this is a really interesting and horrific way to just kind of demonstrate how this can go awry quick. That we can only control something for so long. You know, something is bound to happen at some point like this. The failure to act is wholly on the bureaucracy in between it all. Anybody's lack of willingly accepting blame for what's happening, or willfully just passing the blame. It was like, I'm not going to take the fall for this. I'm going to ignore this and let somebody else figure it out. Like this passing of the buck until nothing ever got done. Because this may have been able to, the scale in which this grew into could have easily been, not, I don't dare say easily, I'm sorry, could have been greatly lessened if they were able to, if they trusted half of the people, like the 3 to 4 people in the first hour, 2 hours that this thing happened, that are like saying, hey, the core does not exist. How within the first 30 minutes of the incident, somebody had already told the one asshole who was in charge of the facility at the time, the core's gone. And they didn't listen to him. Didn't fact check him, didn't anything. Just automatically assumed he was full of shit and delusional and just making it up and like blowing the situation out of proportion. In a nuclear reactor, we're not going to double check something like that is asinine to me. And then again, the gall of these two that were kind of presiding over this, they gave that committee that briefing in the last episode with that eerily transitioning speech that I talked about at length. Those two coming in where Stellan and Jared are just like, They tried to sound all high and mighty. It was like, it's under control, 3 Runkin. They keep spouting their spiel over and over again. And it was like, oh yeah, well, what about the graphite? Oh, that was oddly satisfying because of how guarded and off-putting, rather, that Stellan's character was towards Jared when he, you know, spoke out of turn about it, because rightfully he's got concerns that are not being addressed, that are being overlooked by the evidence within these reports. And of course, that's going to ruffle some feathers because it's like, oh, this guy I invited in here is going to talk over and make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And then that moment in the helicopter where he's like, okay, explain how this reactor works to me. And he's like, I need to get at least enough of an understanding that I can talk about this and maybe not even need you. Well, the second they got on there, the second they got to the reactor and they saw the smokestacks and the fervor and the just passion that he had behind warning the pilot alone, I guess was enough to sway him to be like, okay. And then just the incompetence that is before him, when I think once he got face to face and saw how those two were acting, I think that in that moment he was like, all right, I'm going to send in this guy. This guy knows what he's talking about. These guys obviously do not. And shut them down. Made them look so stupid. And then they've running with this. Even the fact that Jared, even at the end of the day, has made a mistake, a calculation error. But that's, I don't think that's wholly on his fault. That's just a lack of information or a failure in the communication of what has happened and transpired in the reports, in the documentation of the event as it's unfolded. And the fact that they have this hospital too learned something new this week, that by watching this, you know, we have those iodine pills that counteract at least our body's ability to absorb radiation, at least into our thyroid system. That was something I didn't know existed. But the fact that a hospital that is on the outskirts of one of these places did not actively stock this, and then they have to treat all of these people with these burns that are brought in from this thing. And even the doctor that was like talking about, oh, I spent 2 days straight delivering all these babies. A lot of this stuff talking about his tenure, how long he's been there, all the stuff he's seen and done. And then you have this nurse who's just like, are we prepared for that? And then at the end of the day, he's in there scrubbing people down with milk. And he was like, "What? I don't remember what he said. I think he said it was like better than water or better than something or whatever." And he's like, she was like, "What are you doing? These are radiation burns. You can't be doing this." And starts stripping him down, and her and the other nurses are taking this their clothes down, disposing them in some abandoned basement of the hospital. Just really kind of taking charge in the moment. I like seeing these people who are just coming out of the woodwork to do the right thing in the midst of all these people that have no idea what the hell's going on. And the fact that so much of this was left buried, unseen, and that they never even considered evacuating Pripyat, let alone any of the other surrounding towns or any of this until other countries were detecting their radiation. The U.S. got satellite images of their readouts of the heat maps. Switzerland or somewhere, one of their observatories picked up the radiation spikes from there. You had East Germany closing down and keeping kids out of the open air. They didn't acknowledge this until they were forced to by the world, it seems like. But by this point, it's for these people that were right there, it is effectively too late. Their lives have to be ruined. Again, I don't remember a lot about what happened to here. Like I talked about this in the last one. I know what happened. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't know to the extent that this was affected. I know it was one of the biggest tragedies and incidences in the world, in our history, for that matter. But maybe the scale of it and the effects of it, I'm not that. I just don't know. I have to assume that any of those people in that town, based on everything we're hearing, they're dead. Like, there's no way any of those people survived more than, maybe a couple months at best. I could be completely wrong. I mean, it depends on the varying degrees of exposure, but that's so many people. That's children, elderly, families that are just poisoned by this lack of action and accountability. And they want to talk about holding the people responsible accountable, as like that's going to matter at this point, because the people it's going to matter to are not going to be around to see that justice to begin with, and it doesn't matter to begin with. And then you have these heroes here that literally the only thing that they can do to maybe alleviate this is to literally send 3 people to their death. They tried to hide that fact, but everybody in that room was a little bit smarter than that. Like, they work at this facility. They're not idiots. Well, I say that, but then their manager, the guy that was running that control room, he's a fucking idiot. But like, the 3 that volunteered to sacrifice themselves and go down there, but then the radiation's cutting off their equipment, and now we ended the episode with them trapped in the pitch black of this tomb, essentially. And we got 3 more episodes, so obviously what they were sent down to do can't be the end of it. So it's terrifying, man. Just the scale. Because this, like, I got viably upset. I think my overarching emotion in the last episode, because of the management on the site itself, was so upsetting. I think my overall emotion in the last episode was frustration and anger. This one, my presiding emotion in this episode was definitely just sadness, man. Despair at what could have been, and to what has been, what is, what happened, the scale and scope and the fruits of last episode's failures to take responsibility for the situation. And like, I think it was when we started talking about, especially when she started addressing that commission about how this is going to go, that I had tears in my eyes. There's a couple of scenes throughout this episode specifically that I just had tears in my eyes because of the people and the efforts that we're going through here, and just the scale to which this tragedy has amassed is just, it was a lot to handle. Again, like, I don't think I teared up last episode at all, again, because I think my primary emotion in the last episodes was just anger. I was upset. Like, I was saddened. But like, I don't think I could get to tears because I was just angry at what I was watching. The ignorance, the failure to act, the mismanagement, the lies, the gaslighting, and just the way they treat, and we, to some extent, because this became a problem in the last couple of years, is that why do we have these experts if we're going to ignore them? Why do we have these safety guidelines if we're going to ignore them? Why do we have any of this in place if we're just going to ignore it? If we're going to lie, if we're going to just pretend that it's okay? That's how people die. Anyway, that's it. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed the reaction. If you did, leave a like. I'd really appreciate it. And drop a comment. Subscribe if you're not already. Let's carry on the conversation after the video. Remember, if you want to see the full-length reaction, you check it out over on Patreon, or if you become a member of the channel, gets you access as well. And speaking of before we go, I want to shout out our channel heads: Manny Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, Yorick, Corey Scott, Margaret Grace, Melito, Robert Anguiano, Raven McCann, Jeffrey Hale, M. Sephiroth, Jake Cantrell, and Amy Becca. Thank you guys so much for continued support. But that's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you all in episode 3. Take care, everybody.